Testing. Test. All right, I'm a little bit late. I apologize. It's just that new events have unfolded. They're not new. They're actually pretty old. But someone showed me what Vowsh has been doing. Did you know? Did you know that lolly was trending on Twitter? Which is kind of weird because it's a banned word. So if you actually want to see what's happening, if you actually want to click, you don't get anything in return. But I don't need to click in order to know what happened. Vowsh happened, okay? Like, Vowsh happened, and I'm like, what did he do now? And apparently, he had a stream malfunction. This is what we call it in the industry. People call it a wardrobe malfunction in Hollywood. Here we call it a stream malfunction. He accidentally showed his pornography on the stream. Immediately deleted it, right? And now the progressives, like left-leaning people, are out to get Vowsh. They do not appreciate the taste in lewdness that he displays. Now, the thing with the horses, everyone knows, everyone is aware, and that doesn't seem to be the problem. The problem is with anime, right? Like, the left has decided that anime is unacceptable. It is beyond the pale. What you need to do is you need to watch Netflix goodies, Baldur's Gate. Like, horses are fine, okay? Anime is just unacceptable for an American decent person to watch. This is what the left concluded, and it turns out that Vowsh watched not only anime, but the most heretical of anime, right? And he also had like this interesting speech, which he gave back in the day, explaining why right-wingers like anime, and according to Vowsh, his opinion is that it's pedophilia, right? It's the lolly thing. Guess what Vowsh is into? Can anyone... right, so he upset a lot of lefties. Now, this is where me and Short Fat Otaku would disagree. Like, Dev had a take on this as well. He believes that the left, which used to be about sexual liberation and stuff, is now having, like, its own morality when it comes to sexuality, right? And their morality has to be about power imbalances. So, in other words, this is why, and this is absolutely true, like, there are a lot of leftists that unironically believe that if the woman is 20 and the man is 29, that is disgusting and gross. Like they have summoned this morality out of the ether. Like, nowhere in the history of mankind did people believe into something like this. A 9-year-old gap between two consenting adults is not something astonishing. Like, I can name people in my family or in my friends' families where the woman is, like, she was 20 and she got married and the man was, like, 28 or 29. Like this is perfectly normal. It's not right. But in leftist land, this is disgusting. It is vile. It is gross. What is permitted is the bear scene in Baldur's Gate, right? The reason they do this is they consider it to be a power imbalance, right? So, in the case of Vowsh, it's kind of like in the beginning when he was small, he didn't really have any power, so it was acceptable for him to be as degenerate as he wanted, you know, on the stream and talk about various fetishes. Like, that's fine. But now that he has a platform, now that he has power, he has a responsibility. So this is what Dev believes. I am on the belief that progressive circles operate differently than most other circles, in the sense that people get selectively outraged. So if you happen to be in a progressive circle, right? If people like you, then you can do pretty much whatever you want. You can even misgender the transgender, right? If you misgender the transgender, if everyone likes you, they are willing to overlook it. I mean, as long as you say, well, I'm sorry, I didn't know, it's fine, right? Like, they go, okay, whatever, don't let it happen again. But if they hate you, if they dislike you, the moment you do anything wrong, like even a microaggression, they will justify as, well, this is why you need to be canceled, this is why we need to stop giving him a platform, etc., etc. So this is my take. I think like nothing will happen with Vowsh, but I do understand that certain people that started talking about his how should we say, interesting anime preferences, they had like Vowsh fans try to go into the comment section and brigade them, and I'm like, really? It's like, imagine being the type of a person that defends someone who basically says that people who watch anime are Nazis, and then the person watches anime themselves, and you're like going into the comment section of other people in order to, I don't know, like defend your lady's honor. I whatever. Hi V, hope all is well. Is bestiality on the menu? Well, I will say that we can play a little bit of a stream, like a little bit part of the stream, and you guys can tell me what you think.
I'll make it clear.
All right, so listen to this, right? This is not AI. This is actual him, right? This is from Keemstar, and let's see if I can play this so that you guys can hear it. There we go.
You off as this or that, okay? I'll make it clear. You can write this down. I want to fuck a woman as a horse. None of this is a secret. Just to be clear, many jokes have been made about this, but I stand by it. My moral principles are rock solid. My feet are firmly planted in the ground. I've got my boots up. They're planted firmly. You cannot move me from my position. This isn't a secret. Let's talk to a therapist. Well, why do you want to be the horse, Vowsh? Because then I'd have a giant dick. Okay, couldn't you have a big dick the other way? Well, yeah, I could. I could have a big dick hypothetically in any variety of scenarios, but then it wouldn't really be a horse dick. Well, you could be a human with a horse dick. Yes, but then I wouldn't have that powerful stallion energy using it. There you go. That's it. That's the whole thing.
So he's doing a little bit of a bit. It's a little bit of a comedy, for those of you who don't know. The thing is, right? This is what I don't get. You can be like that, right? In a liberal society, you can be like, I don't mind what Vowsh is into, right? Like what his fantasies are into. As long as it's between two consenting adults, I'm leftist that way, chat. I know that some of you are right-wingers and you wish that I had stronger morals. And no, I generally don't, like when it comes to sexuality, as long as it's between two human adults, I don't care, right? So if Vowsh wants to imagine himself polymorphing into a stallion, that's fine. But what I don't understand is when the same people judge others. That's when I draw the line. If you're like that, you don't have a moral high ground to judge others. Stop judging. Just stop judging, it's fine. Live your life. There's like two differences. Either you're like, no, marriage is between a man and a woman, and marriage is to have children, goddammit, no divorces, go to church. Oh, then you can judge others. That's fine. Like that, then you can judge others. But if you're going to be like, I want that stallion energy, I want to transform into a horse, don't judge others, right, for liking anime and other shit. Come on. According to Vowsh logic, if Loli is pedophilia, then Vowsh wants to engage in bestiality. I mean, he wants to be the horse, so I don't know. Is it? Like, is it? If you're the animal, it's kind of, huh? People are sending me various stuff with Vowsh putting a gecko on his penis and taking a picture where the gecko is smiling. I don't know. I don't care. Look, it's like it's between him, his chat, and the FBI. I personally don't care. But like, if people want to talk about it, that's my take. My take is like, if you want to be a degenerate, that's fine, but don't judge others. It's not that much to ask, right? I'm not asking for much. Not asking for much, am I? Have I ever judged anyone based on their like sexual preferences though? Have I ever gone and it's like, hey, no, because I used to be a furry, right? So if I used to be a furry, I shut the fuck up. I let other people do the judging. I'm pretty sure there's someone in my chat now that's very judgmental, and he has the moral high ground to stand. I let that person. I'm not going to cast the stone. I do have my own sins. I do have my own problem. I'm not going to pick up the stone and cast it. It makes you sad? Why? Why does it make you sad? Did you have like high hopes for Vowsh? Where you like, well, Vowsh is, a very judgmental person. I'm pretty sure he's a bastion of morality. And now that you realize that he isn't, you're like, oh no, if even Vowsh doesn't have the moral high ground, then who does? It is a very sad world where I do not have any examples to follow. It seems that Vowsh has been reading a lot of Animorphs. If you remember the book series, it was Nickelodeon back in the 90s. I did not read Animorphs. I used to be a furry like normal people, American Outlier. Okay? Like normal individuals, I used to be a furry, and then I had a girlfriend. And once I had a girlfriend, I never felt the need to go into furrydom anymore. I mean, I still like some furry art, I guess, like Rogue the Bat. I think Rogue the Bat is pretty dope. I'm not into horses though. I mean, they look kind of painful. And if you're going to go to that level, if you're going to go into fantasy, at least pick a dragon like normal people, right? Like if you're going to go for the fantasy element, you just go all the way. Pick a dragon, right? Pick a dragon. The dragon is good. But like it is what it is. I'm not going to shame him. I mean, if his limit is at the horse, then well. Horse is painful. How? Like inside you? There was like case in the UK. I remember it was like 2014 or 2016. People that it was the year where people went to the emergency room because they got a little bit frisky with the horses. And yeah, it was painful. Apparently, there's people who died because they allowed a bull to mount them, right? Apparently, the bull actually has like a bone inside the thing, so that caused intestinal damage and tearing, and even doctors couldn't sew it back together. So, I do know some of these things because it's my job to read the news, and every now and then I do encounter certain particular things which are disturbing in nature. Wasn't My Little Pony furry lolly? Well, the furry lolly thing is interesting, right? Because the whole argument from the progressives is that it looks like a child. It is but a child. But it's like, well, it doesn't look like a child anymore. It's a fucking horse. So I don't know. I mean, it's written by an adult. It's voiced by an adult. I was never into My Little Pony, though. So I can't say. But what I am pointing out is that there is this, like, interesting thing. It's like where the argument, it is but a child, doesn't really work. Because it's a horse, right? So, my husband told me that a former teacher had to go to the ER to get a cat removed from it. No fucking way. No fucking way. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of it. But my point is, look, I have never criticized someone else for their sexual preferences because I myself am not without criticism, okay? I mean, I make a video game where succubies life drain people. I don't think I am in the position to start casting moral judgment and try to lecture other people about what they should and shouldn't do with their pee-pee, okay? So I will just say no, sorry, I'll say yeah, like a horse high on ivermectin that Vowsh likes. I guess, like, instead of saying yeah, like a horse high on ivermectin, I need to say yeah, like a horse talking to Vowsh. Huh? Is that better? Like a horse talking to Vowsh. Yeah. I think, yeah. I'm going to go with that from now on. It's a lot more interesting. Apparently, I was talking with Archrags and the others, and they were basically like saying which one of us is the most degenerate, and I'm like, I'm more degenerate than all of you put together. And Arch is like, I don't know, V, give me 1 week of celibacy, and I can be into some really kinky stuff. And I'm like, okay, well. Nay, Vowsh, nay. Vowsh deserves what he gets because he's a hypocritical liar. It's kind of like the thing where I think, like, most people know, it's not. I mean, okay, Vowsh likes weird stuff, and when you hear like, oh, Vowsh was exposed to liking weird stuff, it's like, okay, and like, so what? I mean, you didn't know? Are you considered a VTuber? I am. Definitely, Russell. And thank you for being a member for 1 month. I am a VTuber. But here's another thing. Yeah, Pipkin Pippa said I'm not taking advice from a horse fucker. I was talking with Short Fat Otaku in the last Dungeons and Dragons stream. And as I was talking to Short Fat Otaku, he comes up and he says, so, did you guys notice that Joe Biden is suffering from dementia? And, you know, like I was a little bit taken aback. It's like, how the fuck did it took you 4 years, 4 fucking years to notice that Joe Biden is suffering from dementia? Like, how is that a thing? So apparently he then, backpedals a little bit and says, well, first he actually said, it's due to the editing of Joe Biden's speeches, right? And it's like, you notice the gaffes when they're being edited. But like, if you actually listen to one of his speeches, he talks normal. And I was like, no. But anyway, right, like his argument was that, he didn't think he has dementia because it was edited. And I'm like, alright. I press him further and then he backpedals and he says, well, yeah, but like it's different when you have it on paper, right? It's different when you have it on paper. And at this point, I'm going to tell Dev this the next time I'm talking with him. Like, if this, he is lucky we're not in the 70s. Because if we were in the 70s, he would be like a circus freak. You know, when you go to the circus and it says like, this is the most powerful man, this is the bearded woman, this is the man that believes everything that the government tells him. And only what the government tells him. It's like, unless it's official, unless it's like on a paper with a government signature, he doesn't believe it. It's kind of like, like Justin Trudeau has to call you up. It's like, hey, you shit yourself. It's like, what? No, you shit yourself. Well, thank you, Justin. I wouldn't have known. No, but like, unironically, I was sitting last night and I couldn't sleep. I was like, how is this actually possible? Like, is there... Because the problem isn't, like Dev in particular. The problem is that there are many individuals that literally only believe what the television tells them. Like, they have no critical analysis. They have, like, no sense of recognizing patterns or stereotypes or anything like that. Unless the television tells them, they don't believe it. So in this case, okay, well, the TV finally said that Joe Biden has dementia, and he's like, God damn it, that is concerning. And I'm like, yes, it is. I've been concerned about it for the last 4 years. Am I wrong, though? Am I summoning Dev? I don't know. He's probably going to appear. He believes people have standards and are competent and doing their jobs. He can't believe people are self-serving. No, he can't believe corruption exists, just not at a systemic level, right? And when you press him and you say, but there's corruption in Russia, he goes like, well, but there is no corruption in the US because the US has a different history. And I'm like, okay, but why is there corruption in Mexico then? I mean, it's whatever. It is what it is, To be fair, though, like, the entire diversity, equity, and inclusivity is corruption, right? Because, like, what is corruption? Corruption is, like, when you have someone that gets a position... Like, corruption is basically the same as nepotism to a certain degree, right? like, you have a job, and instead of hiring the best person for the job, you hire, like, the boss's son or the boss's daughter. And they're incompetent. They don't know what they're doing. And even more so... they can be toxic to the work environment. Like, if you actually work with the boss's daughter or the boss's son, they're such arrogant people. And they don't do their deadlines. You have to work and do their job as well. It's very difficult, right? So what ends up happening is that it creates a hostile work environment. The company suffers because of that. Now imagine when you have, like, this whole diversity thing. Like, what is it? You're putting people based on ideology, right? So it's not nepotism per se. But you're still not putting the most qualified person for the job. Like, you're restricting your hiring pool in order to fit percentages. And even then, it's like even if like you have like the correct skin color, right? Like if you have a black person, they're not going to hire someone like the Hodge twins. They're not going to hire someone like Candace Owens, right? Like they would rather hire a white liberal. So the thing is, it's entirely 100% nepotistic. And the people that they are hiring are incredibly toxic. They are unwilling to work with anyone that thinks differently than them. I mean, this is what happened in the comic book industry. You hire like all of these hacks, and they don't just shut the fuck up and be happy that they're getting paid while doing minimal job. No. They go out of their way in order to antagonize and attack people that are better than them, try to get them fired, ostracized over like jokes they said on Twitter and shit. It is problematic, right? And then the entire industry ends up producing shit that no one wants to buy. The other end are family hires that are, I don't care, I don't want to be here. That's literally the diversity hires in many companies, right? Like people that the HR lady hires, and they're hiring based on ideology, and they're like, I don't care, I don't want to be here, right? Like they go there in order to try to change the world. It's like, oh, what is this, Gillette? Well, Gillette should actually produce commercials that are fighting against the stereotype that boys should be boys. The commercials that are telling men that they're evil, right? Like, this is what Gillette should do. They don't care about razors. They're not passionate about razors. They don't want to create, like, the best razor on the market or the cheapest razor on the market. No. They just want to use up the company's resources in order to push for their ideology. And their ideology is like, men are evil, hire more of us consultants. Hire more of us ideologues so that we can fix it. Productions are literally bragging about how they go out of their way to hire people that hate the original material. Yeah, that's another interesting thing, right? Like, I have seen time and time again, there's like this entire compilation, I uploaded it on my second channel, where you have like all these people from comic books. It's like, yeah, we never liked the SWAT Cats. Oh, we never liked the Snow White. Yeah, I never read She-Hulk. Oh, I don't know what Thor is, right? And the reality is, like, these are the same individuals that back in the day would laugh and mock at geeks. You know, people like Anita Sarkeesian. And the thing is, like, geeks didn't have the word tourist back then. We had the word fake geek girl. It's like, what was a fake geek girl? It was like someone pretending to be a geek. Not because they like the comic books or that they like the fandom, but because they wanted the power and authority, right? It's like, you're a hot woman that likes video games, so now you have an army of simps willing to do your bidding. And your bidding can be like to fatten your Patreon, to retweet your stuff, right? Like give you extra popularity on social media, right? Like your stuff. That was like a fake geek. It's someone that has no interest in the fandom but pretends to care about the fandom so that the members of the fandom latch on and give her cash and fame. And this is why, like, they really hated the word fake geek, and they were like, oh my god, it's misogynismus. There is no such thing as a fake geek girl. And it's like, really? There's fake everything. There's fake money. There's fake people. But for some reason, fake geek girls don't exist. Don't make me mad. One of my aunt called me to see how I was doing, and she mentioned this, and I told her this years ago, and she didn't believe me. Her response was like, Dev, meaning when the TV told her, that's when she believed. Yeah, no, unironically, right? Like, this is why I even brought up Dev. It's not about him in particular, right? Because it's not like a one-person thing. Because if it was like just with Dev, that would be fine. There are individuals out there that literally do not believe something is real unless the television tells them it is. And even like when you argument it and you tell them, it's like, hey, look, you know, like I noticed this from 2 years ago. They will say, oh, you got lucky. Oh, it was just a wild guess. Oh, it was a hunch. And the moment that I realized how much I dislike these people was during COVID, right? Like, COVID happens, and I go online, right? Because I don't watch the fucking news. I go online, I get my direct sources, and I see it in China, right? And China is, like, locking down Wuhan, and you have, like, all these people that are... There were videos of people fainting on the streets and shit. And I I do think like the first strain of COVID was probably the most potent, right? So like the first one that happened was actually the most deadly. So I see it, and then I listen to like what are the doctors saying, and they're saying, well, it's a viral illness, right? So it's transmissible by air, and it's like 2 weeks asymptomatic spread. And I was like, there is no fucking way that this thing isn't going to come to Europe. Like, they can't stop it, right? Like, in modern society, everything is interconnected. There is no way that this isn't going to come up to Europe. So I tell people, in my real life, it's like, hey, like, stack up on hand sanitizers. Try to avoid crowded places. Wash your hands. They all thought that I'm crazy. I'm not kidding, chat. They thought that I'm crazy. They thought that I'm like this weird, wacko, conspiracy theorist type of person that gets scared by watching stuff online. Okay, so meanwhile, the Democrats were accusing everyone that was afraid of COVID as being racist, okay, because it was called the China virus back then. So like that was like my experience, right? And then it happens, Chad. Then it fucking happens, right? So everyone is scared. Everyone is paranoid. Every single person that I warned was now incredibly agitated, right? And I was like, dude, okay, it's bad, right? But unless you have comorbidities, like unless, you're obese or you have diabetes or you're very old or you have cancer, like unless you're like that, you should be careful, but like don't allow it to uproot your entire life. Like do not go hysterical over it. Again, the same fucking people that initially were telling me that I am a conspiracy theorist because I am too agitated over this. Now they were telling me that I'm not agitated enough, right? That I'm not panicking enough, that I don't understand how deadly it is, and it's like the same fucking people, like literally the same. And the only thing was like the TV was telling them, right? Because the television was telling them, no reason to panic, they wouldn't panic. The television was now panic, they were panicking. I just don't, oh God. And not to mention, right, like the exact same people that were like, oh, if you're not triple vax, then the military should pin you down and give you the 4th dose. And the exact same people, the moment that Ukraine happened, they went from, if only we can save one life, it's worth fucking the entire economy. Like, if only we can save one life, they were like, to war! Man the guns, go to war! And it's like, dude, like, how can the television control them to this extent? Like, literally, just a switch of a dial and click, 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 and they would just, like, complete different personality, complete different, they go from like fashion, like we're terrified of fascism, we're scared, we're afraid. You get the click and it's like everyone needs to be locked down in their homes, everyone needs to show papers when they go to McDonald's, everyone needs to have a QR code, everyone needs to, right? Like, how the fuck can you mind control people to this extent? Like, I want to know how CNN does it. I want to do it in my life. It is just so good to have like this level of power over other human beings. Have you asked Dev about the DOJ report on why they dropped the case against Biden holding classified documents was because Biden is mentally unfit to be able to hold the crime? I'm not even going to talk about that anymore. Like, to me, it's kind of like, okay, I will tell you my synopsis on Short Fat Otaku, okay? My analysis. Imagine that government is the daddy and Short Fat Otaku is the woman, okay? The woman is into an abusive relationship with the daddy. The sugar daddy in this case, right? And when you go to the woman and you're telling her, it's like, look, it's not okay what he does. He shouldn't scream at you. He shouldn't beat you up. He shouldn't do this and that. He shouldn't control your finances. He should... The woman goes, yes, but I love him. And it's like, at this point, like, there's nothing else to say. You can't really have a rational conversation. You can't really engage into any type of debate. It's the battered wife syndrome. Like, what can I say? it doesn't do me good. It doesn't do him good. It is what it is. I mean, the thing that actually made me come to this conclusion was the last Dungeons and Dragons stream, as I mentioned before, when Dev is like, so did you guys notice that the media is saying that Biden may have dementia? And I'm like, dude, if it took you 4 hours to figure it out, if it took you 4 years to figure it out, and you only figure it out because the television tells you so, that like, at this point, I don't know, like, talking to you is like getting my CNN talking points, you know? Like, I can just watch CNN and bypass you altogether. Like, I know your opinions just by watching the mainstream media. There's no reason to actually listen to you when I can just tune in and see what the media tells me about a subject, and I know what you're going to believe. So, yeah, it is what it is. What would you do without the government? I don't know. But it is hilarious, you know? Like I don't know how it's like to live like that, to be honest. To like refuse to believe something unless the government tells you that it's true. It's just like, yes, you can link them up when I said it. Yes, you're free to do so. His counter, I was being sarcastic. No, he started backpedaling. He backpedaled twice. So the first time he backpedaled saying that, well, now it's written on paper, right? So like it's, I guess it's like strengthened if it's on paper. Okay. That TV is deadly. My uncle was a Gulf War and Desert Storm military veteran. He has PTSD so bad with sand, he doesn't like seeing his grandkids playing in a sandbox. But as soon as the Ukraine war popped off, he was on the pro-war train. I mean, it is what it is, right? It's the power of the television. I keep telling people the story of my grandmother because even today, it mind blows me, right? I consider my grandmother to be a very wise and intelligent woman. And in most cases, she was. But, you know, no one is perfect. All human beings have our flaws. And her flaw was that she allowed herself to be influenced by the television a little bit too much. So, like, during communism, when the reality was that the crime wave was phenomenally high, but no one was reporting on it, she would sleep with her door open, right? Like, back then, people didn't have air conditioning, she didn't have a fan, it was more simple times. And she slept with the door open so that there's a draft. Right? Like, she would open the window, she would open the door, and she would sleep at that. You know, anyone from the street could just come on in. It was very dangerous, right? But that was fine, right? Because like the television didn't talk about crimes. Now, when the communist regime fell, the news media in my country realized that talking about crimes drives ratings, right? So, like, if you talk about violent crimes, if you talk about muggings, theft, rapes, all of that, if you talk about that, like, you get ratings. So, all of a sudden, my grandmother was so afraid, and I'm not making this up, chat, but she would barricade the entrance to the house. Like, she would take a table, like a dining table, put it in front of the door, and then put my bicycle on top of the door, and she even had, like, nails that she twisted. Again, it's... I guess back then people didn't really have like the same technology we used to today, right? And locks were expensive, whatever. It was a lot more cheap to just have like a nail that you bend and then you move it upwards when the door is open. And now when I went to law school and I looked at the crime statistics, it was far worse when the TV was saying that everything is fine. And after the communist revolution fell, the crime level actually got lesser. Right? So, like, she was doing the opposite. Like, when it was safe, she was barricading herself because, like, the TV would constantly talk about crime. And when things were dangerous, she slept with the door open because the television was constantly avoiding anything to do with crime. So the moral of the story is that the television literally controls people. Hello, Katis. there were still some old people that I tracked with that believed Wi-Fi is going to steal money from their wallet somehow. I think, okay, I know where that superstition comes from, actually. I do know where that superstition comes from, right? So, I don't know if this was like a real case or not, but back when POS actually started becoming a thing, so it was like in the beginning, right? If you had your credit card in your wallet, rumor went, I don't even know if this was possible or not. Hold on, let me see if I can find a picture so that, alright. So we're talking about a POS, right? Like this type of thing. Okay. So, when these things first started to appear, like they were very early in their infancy. And people could pay with the credit card just by like holding the card on top and it goes beep, right? There was a rumor. Now, again, I don't know if this is actually possible or not, because I think it's not possible. But the idea was that if you have a thief in a public transport, like a bus or something, and they have a POS, right? And you have your card in the wallet, if they press the POS against your pocket, it goes beep, and it charges you. I never thought that this is actually a scam. Like, I think that there are security in place to try and prevent this from happening. Like, one of the things would be, okay, like, let's assume you can actually do it. Like let's assume it actually works. Isn't it like the money goes into your account, and once it's in your account, like, they can trace it, right? So if I notice that there's money missing from my wallet, and if you do this to a lot of people, it not becomes as like if the person misses, but it becomes into a when. So statistically speaking, a single person to notice that their money is missing is very high, right? So all they have to do is to go to their bank, notice that the money was transferred into another account and they didn't authorize the transfer. And when enough people go to the cops, then eventually the cops start an investigation and they will find the person that did it, right? So like, this is why I never believed that this type of scam is even remotely possible. But like, this is why where you have like a lot of older people thinking that Wi-Fi steals their money. It is possible. Like, I'm not saying that you can't do it, right? Like you can do it up to a certain sum. I think in Romania it's like $20, because after $20 you need to put your PIN, right? So, but the thing is, like, if someone steals money from you, okay, and you notice that like $20 was missing, if you go to the bank can find out where that transfer was made, right? And if you go to the cops, then the cops can find out, okay, well, whose bank account was it? And when they find out whose bank account was it, they know the name, they know the address, they know the ID of the person that did it, so they can just catch him, right? They got an anti-RAFD wallet to prevent this. I see. But the thing is, again, like, they reported this on the news. And the elderly people, like, you know, like I think like the way they reported it on the news was that in buses that have Wi-Fi, people can steal money like this. So the people that were watching the news, the elderly who don't understand what Wi-Fi is, like they concluded in their infinite wisdom that, okay, if there's Wi-Fi in the bus, people can steal your money. Which, to be honest, is not like a completely wrong observation, but somebody needs to be very close to you to do this. Yeah, but like, take into account that in a public transport that's filled. So like, let me show you what we mean. Let me show you how I traveled when I was a kid, right? Okay. Imagine you're riding in this thing. Getting very close to someone else doesn't seem to be difficult. Because like no matter where you're at, you're close to like 3 or 4 other people. I mean, to be fair, this scam would be very profitable. Like if you manage to like peep, like 5 people, you already have like $100. So all you have to do is like do another run, and you get like $100 per run. I mean, you can make a lot of money. But again, the banks would probably flag your transactions as fraudulent. And when that happens, the police gets involved, and it's very easy to catch the person, right? Like the thing with pickpocketing is that if you manage to pickpocket someone, like the person doesn't know who you are, can't find out who you are, right? The way that police catch pickpocketers is usually if there's an area where a lot of pickpocketing happens, or if the person that gets pickpocketed manages to apprehend the thief on the spot, right? Either than that, like if the pickpocketer has successfully pickpocketed someone and then goes away, there's not much that the cops have to go on, right? So usually what the cops do is like, okay, they know that the pickpocketing happens in the public transport, so they, go undercover and they sit in public transport and they're looking for suspicious individuals. That's how they catch them. But if you're doing like this whole thing with the POS, then it actually gets to the bank, like the information is in the cloud. They know where the money was transferred, so like catching the person is very easy. Still, I assume like it's not nice to know that $20 is missing, right? By the time they get it back, it will probably take a while. So yeah, like people should be able to protect themselves. It's like if there's a special wallet that you can purchase and like this is a problem and you use like the bus often, then yeah, you should. Could use a stolen bank account from a third world country. I don't think they're that smart, to be honest. Or even that they would know how to. It's called a fall guy, usually a youngster. Yeah, but it's not like the thing is like with the fall guy, you expect that he may not have to fall, right? But with this scam, like the fall guy will always fall, and he can't be a youngster because he needs to have an ID to make a bank account. The thief uses identity theft to set up the account the money gets sent to. They do a cash withdrawal before the chargeback happens. I see. Okay, well, in that case, I need to be more careful. To be fair, I don't use public transport anymore, but it's good to know. When I'll have a kid, I'll give him like one of those wallets that prevent theft. If you're Canadian, you can freeze your bank account just by saying something anti-government. That is a good point. Yes, like if you're Canadian, you can just call on the banks and say, hey, I'm with the truckers. Can you please freeze my bank account? And then they do it. I've seen cases in my area that have old people whose accounts are compromised be the place where the cash goes. And they're unaware. A lot of old people in my country, right? Like this whole idea with cashless society doesn't take into account certain cultures like Romania that you have most of the population not using a credit card. And it's like, well, how is that possible, V? Well, and it's like simple. They ask their relatives. Like my grandmother had no idea how to withdraw money from her account. So she would ask my mom in order to go to the what is it? The blah. Yeah, go to the machine and withdraw cash for her. Go to the bank. And ATM. Why was that so hard? It just am I suffering from dementia now? Holy shit. Yeah, so she would ask my grandmother to go to the ATM so my grandmother would ask my mom to go to the ATM and withdraw money for her. And that was like how it that was like a very interesting thing because it wasn't just my grandma. Most of the elderly in my country were like that. So if you want them to like use cashless society and to understand shit, they won't, right? So like if you have like a thief that was targeting the elderly, I think like that would have been a problem. This is why the television actually had the announcement. And the elderly, what they got is that if you have Wi-Fi, it steals your money. Which, it is what it is. Sorry for my loss of brain. I'm sorry as well. I want it back. Yeah, it does seem like I'm getting old. You know, you actually noticed this. I was a lot smarter when I was a teenager, right? So, like, when you're a kid, you're really dumb, you're stupid. And then as I was a teenager, I was incredibly smart compared to what I was now. And then I went to university, and I think that's where it plateaued. And now I feel like I'm not as smart as I used to be when I was a teenager. And it's not only that, it's when you play video games, I think that I was a lot better at video games when I was a teen, especially when it comes to video games that had reflexes. Like first person shooters and I would even say MOBAs to a certain degree. And now it's just sad. It's just sad. I mean, I'm still good at first person shooters, but nowhere near as good as I used to be. And I think like one of the explanations that was given, and this is actually quite true. You know, when you were a kid, the days would pass a lot slower, and the years, like, oh my god, the years would pass incredibly slow. It turns out that children, as well as small animals, perceive time differently. Like it blew my mind when I realized this, but it's true, right? So it's kind of like you have more FPS when you're a kid, right? Like your memory stocks up with a lot more stuff when you're a kid than when you're an adult. And the reason for it is that when you're a kid, like let's say you're 4 years old, you only have like 4 years of memory to stock up. When you're an adult and you have like 39 years of memory, obviously like your brain needs to discard a lot of shit in order to make room for the new stuff, right? But it's not only that, it's like kids do perceive time differently, which means that you actually do have like better reflexes, better hand-eye coordination when you're a kid than when you're an adult. And take into account that when you look at all of these esports, right? Like all of these competitions, you don't really see old people playing. I mean, we should be able to see old people now, right? Because when I grew up, it was like video gaming was like this mystical land for the older generation, right? Like my parents never got into it. My grandparents didn't even know how to use a computer. So it was like mostly my generation. But now my generation is starting to, you know, go into the middle age. Some of them even go into the older age. And you would see them in esports, but you don't. And the reason for it, like you don't see them in fighting games, you don't see them in first-person shooters, is due to the fact that young people have better hand-eye coordination than the older. My dad is in his 60s, and he knows 6 languages and learns to play a new instrument every year. Well, congratulations to your father. The question is, like, when he was 30, right? So you need to look at the same person. When he was 30, was it easier for him to learn new languages then than it is now? Was it easier for him to do stuff then than it is now? That's the question. It's not like, oh, my dad is a super genius. It's like, well, okay, yeah. And he's 60. I mean, congratulations. But when he was 30, right, like the same person when he was younger, was he able to do stuff better than it is now? That's how you should treat it. Not like, well, I know this 60-year-old that's really smart. It's like, yeah. Wasn't he even smarter when he was younger? To 5-year-old, a month is a large portion of your life. To a 40-year-old, a month is short relatively. Yeah. Like, I noticed that time passes a lot faster. Like, my God, the 3-month vacation that I used to get in school. Jesus. Almost lasted a lifetime. Now it's like 3 months. They come and go. Like, for instance, I need to get money for the tax man in Romania, right? It's the tax season. So I told my developer from my video game that he has to take 2 months off because I can't pay him. So I'm going to spend all the money for my video game on art now. It's just like art and animation. Because that, I had to choose, like, do I want coding and development or do I want art and animation? And I was like, well, we're very ahead with coding and development, so I'll go with art and animation. But the thing is, like, 2 months is going to pass really fast. Like, I won't even notice when it passes. So, it's probably not going to Not going to be that impending. If you probably keep your brain active, it's little to no difference when you're 30 compared to 60. I don't know. I don't think that's the case. I think like there's a normal plateau that goes down. This is like applying the same theory that you do to muscles to brain, and I don't think it works because the neurons, they don't regenerate. Like once a neuron dies, it's dead. So it is what it is. Every year, 1 year is a smaller fraction of your total life, so perception of time speeds up. Yeah. You got weird people? My father actually likes using chainsaw and splitting wood, and he is 80. Yeah, but that's... No, like the question is, like, how was he when he was 40? Right? Like the same person, how was he when he was younger? I don't know. They can make new connections. Yeah, they can, but that's like a fail-safe mechanism. Eventually, and not to mention the new connections may not be as good as the previous ones, right? So they may not be as shorter or optimal. Anywho, right. Neurons not regenerating is myth. Turns out they can regenerate. I don't know. I learned at med school that they can't regenerate. I mean, so like, if they could regenerate, would you be able to grow a new brain in a vat? Right? Like, I know heart muscles can't regenerate. That's why when... No, it's kind of like when you have a stroke, right? Like, when you have a stroke, especially if it's a large area of a stroke, the way it works is that if you work with a patient that had the stroke, like the neurons may make different connections so that the patient is functional again. But it's not going to heal by itself, you know? It's kind of like if you get scratched on your hand, well, over time it heals and you don't even know you had the scratch, right? Because the tissue regenerates. But with the brain, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't regenerate. So, like, if a person has a stroke and now is like, you know? You can either work with them in the beginning to try and help them out so that the brain establishes new connections, or else it's gone. Like, it doesn't matter if it's like 5, 10, 15, 20 years. They're never going to be able to reuse that power of the brain again. So I don't think it's a myth. Hy-Vee, I'm late. Also, journalists are putting their hands on their chins and saying that this is very concerning. Yeah. So basically, I forgot to talk about the main issue, right? There's an AI called Dignity AI. And I want to warn people, like especially other content creators, do not show AI pictures of real people on your YouTube channel, okay? It's a legal gray area right now. And if you do it, it can be considered harassment and bullying. You can get a community guideline strike or whatever, right? So do not show pictures of real people involving AI. Unless it's like a famous celebrity and it's, you know, like Donald Trump or like a famous actor or something and it's just for the lulz and it's not disparaging in any way, shape, or form, right? But this case, it's called Dignify AI. So what Dignify AI does is it takes the e-girl and it dresses her up, removes the tattoos, removes the piercings, and the idea is to show them the beauty that they have lost. And you have like this chick, which writes in the Rolling Stones article, and it basically says that it took away her body autonomy, right? What is actually happening is that this is an OnlyFans girls, right? Like she's an influencer, and of course, like the more people talk about her, the better. So she is pretending to be ass hurt over this, in order for people to get to see her ass in the Rolling Stone article, right? Because if you go in there now, you get to see a picture of her ass. It's a beautiful ass, I'm not going to lie, and many people are going to subscribe in order to see more of that ass, because the ass is indeed beautiful. So she's going to fake some tears and say, oh my god, this is so horrible, oh no, look what the AI did to me, oh no, it put clothes on me, oh no. Right, and they will say that this is robbing their body autonomy. So basically, right, when you have like, I don't know, Donald Trump, and you make a Photoshop of him, you're robbing Donald Trump of his body autonomy. This is the mentality, right? Like, this is what they unironically believe. So, there's no reasoning with these individuals. But the reality is, like, she doesn't give a fuck, right? It's not like she's being robbed of her. No, like, first of all, it's not your autonomy, it's your fucking picture, right? And it's not even your picture, now it's parody. Like, you are allowed to take a picture of someone and manipulate it if it's not in a disrespectful manner, because that's considered parody. And the idea of, like, putting clothes on someone is never, has never been considered a bad thing, right? Like, if a firefighter finds a woman that's, like, you know, covered with smoke and she's naked, and the firefighter puts a blanket over her, that is not the firefighter being disrespectful. God. It's fucking ridiculous. Is digital rape. Oh my fucking god. Yeah, I mean, the British police is wasting taxpayer money with that nonsense. It's like, if it's digital rape, then put them in a digital prison. How about that? You know, like, what you need to do, this is what, okay, listen. This is how it works. So, if it's digital rape, like they say, I suggest that when they find the person who did it, you take a picture of them, and you use AI in order to make it look like they're in prison. Right? So, like, if I don't know, Vowsh. If Vowsh does something bad, like, he uses AI and does something bad to a horse, then the solution would be to take Vowsh's picture and use AI in order to make it look like he's in prison. And there you go. You know, like, problem solved. I mean, if it's so bad, right? If it's so bad, then surely they're never going to make the mistake again. They're never going to do it again, because once it's done to them, they will understand just how evil it is. I do agree, though, with the opposite, right? So, like, taking a picture of someone and using AI in order to make them naked or put them in pornographic positions, I think that is the same like libel or slander, because what you're doing is you're damaging the reputation of that person, right? So, like, if I were to take a picture of your mother and get your mother into lewd poses and then, like, send it to her boss or something and say, look what she's doing on the internet, right? Like, that is reputational ruining stuff. That can get person fired. So, I agree that the person should be able to file a complaint, not towards the AI company, but to the person that did the manipulation. So that is different. You know, that's another conversation. But, like, simply dressing someone up using AI, I don't think that's a crime. They had no issue with the lady that held up the severed head of Donald Trump. Yeah, you know, like, that lady, Kathy Griffin, was 100% against the body autonomy of Donald Trump by this logic. Yeah, people did that before the AI. I mean, photoshopping people is not a new thing. I mean, Google is filled with it, right? So, like, if you look for any celebrity whatsoever on Google, you will usually find the head of the celebrity plastered over the body of some actress that's into porn, right? So, like, this has been done for several years. It's not something new. But I guess it's like the AI crazy train now, and everyone wants to jump on the bandwagon so that they can get their 5 minutes of fame on the Rolling Stones. Did you see the pictures? Jenna from accounting fell into the tentacle pit. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like that, you know, like, photoshopping someone's head on a different picture is not new to the internet. It has been done for years, and I'm pretty sure it's still going to be done. People now are panicking over the AI rave. I don't get it. I can literally do that with a $5 photo app on my phone. Yeah, it's not surprising. Anyway, right, thank you guys for watching this. I really appreciate it. And as usual, I will see you tomorrow. Take care.